All right, we begin here. ANC delegates at the 13th Mpumalanga elective conference have voted for Mandla Ndlovu as the party's new provincial chairperson. The results of the elections were announced earlier today at the provincial conference in eMalahleni. Ndlovu has beaten Lucky Ndinisa with 440 votes. Lucky Ndinisa got 278 votes against Ndlovu's 440 at the conference. The deputy chairperson, Speedy Mashilo, got 505 votes, while David Nhlabatsi got 209. Muzi Chirwa is the secretary with 487 votes against Pat Ngomane's 224. Deputy Secretary Lindiwe Ntshalintshali got 458 votes, and Charles Ndlovu lost with 258. Mandla Msibi got more than 400 votes to get the position of treasurer. Conference officially started yesterday afternoon following numerous challenges, including court interdicts by some ANC members, but the High Court in Johannesburg declared it legal and gave it the go-ahead. All right, let's get the latest then from our reporter Samkele Maseko, who is indeed then in Mpumalanga for us. A lot going on in this afternoon. Take us through the day's announcements, and maybe if you can give us really an idea of the history of Ndlovu, as of course we understand that he did indeed win by 440 votes. He is indeed the party's new provincial chairperson. Just give us his history and a brief breakdown of what's been going on in Mpumalanga today.
Well, indeed, Flo, the history of Mandla Ndlovu is that he is a former regional secretary from the Bushbuck Ridge area before the amalgamation of Buhlabelo region and also Ehlanzeni region, which is the Nelspruit area. The Buhlabelo region was going down to the likes of Bushbuck Ridge, but I stand to be corrected, it might be vice versa. He is also a former provincial secretary of David Mabuza in the province, and subsequently now he is the provincial chairperson of the province. Over the years, their relationship has soured. You'd remember at the time when Mabuza was leaving to become the deputy president of the ANC, he said that he was leaving the people of Mpumalanga to Mandla Ndlovu's hands, and if they cry that he's not taking good care of them, they must come back and tell him that he's a resident of this area. He also cares about the future of this province. Subsequent to that, the relationship soured. The deputy president then was seemingly perceived to be aligned to the now premier of the province, Refilwe Mtweni-Tipane. That relationship later on soured, with Refilwe Mtweni-Tipane firing many of Mabuza's lieutenants in government, like Pat Ngomane, who was an MEC. He's out in the cold now, and he was contesting to be provincial secretary against Muzi Chirwa and lost out. Then recently, you've had Mandla Ndlovu, whom has come out to publicly endorse the ANC president and also the former Nkangala regional chairperson, which is Speedy Mashilo. They've made their views quite clear. You've got Lindiwe Ntshalintshali, who's perceived to be close with the Secretary General of the ANC. So it's a mixed bag when it comes to the top five of the ANC in Mpumalanga, and of course Mandla Msibi, who stepped aside. But we'll bring in Speedy Mashilo, who got the highest number of votes, by the way, as deputy chairperson in that entire core. He got 505 votes. Mr. Mashilo, how did you manage to get 505 votes and your colleagues were below 400 votes, or below 500 rather?
Well, thanks very much. Well, I might definitely not know that question. However, I must thank the delegates of the province for voting me. Indeed, in Nkangala, we came here with 218 votes. That means other regions, as discussed, they voted me, and I'm quite happy for that. The burden is put equally on me, on the collective, that we are expected to unite, and I'll make my contribution to unite the province as we move to the national conference in December, as we move to the national elections in 2024. Those are the tasks that I'll assist to this collective. Look, I've been a chairperson of Nkangala for quite some years. I've acquired sufficient experience that I could help, one, unite the province, two, making sure that everybody is disciplined. We listen everyone who's got consent, and we visit branches that are not properly launched, we relaunch them. When we make sure that ANC is alive, that's what indeed is expected from me. Over and above, I'm not the chair, Mandla is the chair. By constitution, I'm there to assist him, and I must do that to make sure that Comrade Mandla equally does not fail.
Mr. Mashilo, when you look at the dynamics of the province, your recent pronouncement in the Nkangala regional RGC, where you said Cyril for second term, the president of the ANC. You also repeated that line similar earlier when you spoke yesterday. Do you feel as if some of your delegates have been saying they've been liberated from the clutches of the former provincial chairperson of the province, David Mabuza? Do you share the same sentiment?
Well, look, I've served with Comrade Titi for quite some time. So I wouldn't say that we are liberated from him. He's the deputy president of the country. He's expected to look all over the country, and not only in Mpumalanga. From where we are said, we had a conference that is violence-free as it was perceived, and everything's went well. We have been elected. We must take it where David Mabuza, as the then chairperson of the province, now the deputy president of the country, has left, so that we move forward. So I wouldn't necessarily say we have been liberated from him. We've been in the structures of ANC, some of us. In the question of supporting President Ramaphosa, well, we have made a point on the RGC of Nkangala that the presidents of ANC served 2 terms, and I was there, and I led a number of branches to Stellenbosch and coming back to Polokwane, and where we said, no, President Mbeki, we have given you 2 terms, let's give Comrade JZ, and we've given him 2 terms. And the point is simple, why can't we give Comrade Cyril equally the 2 terms? We said as Nkangala, we wanted to have the president in the region of Nkangala so that we can raise our frustrations, can raise our concern. And those concerns does not make us to say, no, it's no longer good. No. We must say, this is what we think. We should not, your president must do, and this is what we suggest president must do, and why we have not done 1, 2, 3, and explain for himself.
We've been reliably informed that the former chairperson of the province and the current deputy president was not invited to this provincial conference. Your chairperson has confirmed this. Why was he not invited?
Well, I must indicate I wasn't part of the structure that was doing the invitation, but I thought the NEC deployed accordingly. However, what we have discussed earlier was that we should invite all the former chairpersons of this province, starting from Matthew Posa, Comrade Ndaweni, Tabang, Makwetla, as well as Titi Mabuza. Why they're not invited to come, I'm not too sure at this moment.
The specific question is, Mabuza specifically was not invited. All other NEC employees, all other NEC members of the ANC who reside in this province, David Mashilo, Ronald Lamula, Violet Siwela, the former deputy of Mabuza in the province, they were all invited. But your deputy president, your former chairperson was not invited for a conference that sits for the very first time since his departure.
Well, remember, he's the deputy president. If he's not invited, there might be very good reasons why he was not invited. It's not just ordinary like any other NEC members, whom some of them are not in the government executive. But as for the deputy president, Mabuza is in the executive. So if there are no invitations, I might not know at the moment. Since I said I was not part of the processes to inviting.
When you look at the outcomes of this conference, you look at your core as focus, you look at the core of Ngri, his perceived supporters, especially Pat Ngomane, didn't win. What does this signal, particularly about his relationship now with the leadership of the province that has been elected, knowing that relations have soured between him and the now chosen and elected chairperson Mandla Ndlovu?
Well, you know, as the elected structure, the deputy president has to work with us. He has no choice. This is how the ANC work, unfortunately. If he has a preference, that preference is no longer there. At the moment, there is a structure that is being elected by the branches of the ANC. So for us, it's neither nor here nor there on the issue of whom we supported before. At the moment, we're able to meet with him at the appropriate time as the deputy president of the ANC in that regard, not as a former chairperson, but as the deputy president of the ANC. He's from this province. At some point, we must meet him as we'll be discussing the national politics.
What's your, in a layman's term, as Mpumalanga, would you still want to retain a position in the top 6? In Nasrec, you were the second biggest province in the party. That may have changed now depending on your membership numbers. What is your thinking going towards the conference? We've known the name of Ronald Lamula being raised, particularly from those within the Bushbuck region. Who do you then choose between these two sons of the soil?
Well, we have not made that choice. except to say yes, we'll love to have a representative in the top 6. That will count for it. Will make everything possible to have a representative in the top 6. It's an honor over and above to have the deputy president of the ANC in the province of Mpumalanga. We expect to have some benefit as well, like in other provinces that will have the deputy president or the president itself. One day, as a province, we must have the president as well of the country coming from Mpumalanga. We are not immune like in other provinces.
Is that your foresight for December or post-December?
Well, the matter of December, we've been engaged on it, but of course we are amenable to be engaged. But remember, as we said, we do have the position of the deputy president. We want to keep it. To who do we give is another matter that we'll discuss it later on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speedy Mashilo. Just the last one. On Refilwa Mtshali the Premier, I'm told that you've reached an agreement with her and Sasekani to be accommodated in the additionals. How do you then work with her since she's not going to be in the top 5 position in the province?
The Comrade Tsipane as a Premier, he's been elected as a Premier outside the structure. My region, of course, we're advancing herself a name to be in the PEC. And I'm happy has reached the threshold, has met the threshold, and we hope she will be supported to be in the PEC. The top 5 is just one component, but the PEC is a structure that is constitutionally mandated to take decisions. So from where we sit, we believe Comrade Refilwa will make it in the PEC of Mpumalanga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mashilo, the Deputy Chairperson of the ANC here in the province of Mpumalanga, coming from the Nkangala region, saying that they're yet to make a choice for the December conference when it comes to the Deputy Presidency. They want to keep it, but you've got Ronald Lamula on the one hand. On the other hand, you've got the incumbent Deputy President of the ANC, David Nhlabatsi, whom his allies, Pat Ngomane, Lucky Ndinisa, they lost out in this provincial conference that sat here. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to address this particular gathering when it comes to its closure tomorrow before Mandla Ndlovu closes conference here in Mpumalanga. Back to you in studio floor.
All right, just one last thing before we wrap up, Samkele, before we let you go, just a quick one. You know, there were some questions, and in fact it's been raised, the issue of security, and there is indeed some sort of excitement at the fact that it was a safe conference. Had there prior to this been any sort of concerns or worries around whether or not this would be a safe conference? And I noted, you know, when you were posting on social media that you pointed to the fact that security was quite heavy. So were there serious concerns about the security situation?
Yes, indeed. Security was a serious threat to this provincial conference. The ANC in the branch general meetings here in the province have been fraught by violence in their meetings. At some point, Nomvula Mokonyane, the head of organizing, had to descend onto the province to try and quell those tensions with the Deputy Secretary General, who's now on leave, Jesse Duarte. So in essence, they were fearing it, and they actually made the security measures very strict and very stringent. There were police officers deployed all over the show within here, the province in Mpumalanga, and leading to the Witbank Dam where the conference is currently taking place. So they did take strong security measures. Even the Treasurer General Paul Mashatile in the press briefing last week at Luchuli House insisted that security in Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape conferences is going to be very high, because those provinces are more prevalent when it comes to political violence and ANC meetings descending into chaos. For instance, now in the Chris Hani Regional Conference in the Eastern Cape, where I would assume our colleagues are, where they are endorsing Oscar Maboyane for a second term, the security in that conference, I'm also told, is very, very high, going to the 21st of April provincial conference of the ANC in the Eastern Cape.
All right, Samkele, let's leave you there. Thanks very much for that update, and of course letting us know what's happening currently in Mpumalanga, where the ANC was having their provincial elective conference.